Let me ask you a question. Have you ever noticed how one rude comment, just a single sentence, can hijack your entire mood for the day? It's almost like someone throws a tiny match into your spirit, and before you know it, your peace is burning in the flames they lit. But here's the truth. The fire doesn't spread unless you add wood to it, and the wood is your reaction. See, rude comments are never really about you. They are mirrors reflecting the unrest inside someone else. And when you let their words determine your response, you surrender your authority to their instability. That's why you cannot afford to fight fire with fire. You rise by refusing to descend. Calmness is not passivity, it's power under control. When someone throws a verbal jab, they're expecting resistance. They're expecting a flare-up because chaos feeds on chaos. But when you stay anchored, when you respond from peace instead of pain, you cut off their supply. You take the wind out of their storm. And let me tell you this, silence is not weakness. Silence, when chosen, is strategy. It says, your words cannot penetrate the walls of my self-control. That kind of silence speaks louder than the sharpest comeback. Because in that moment, you prove that you are untouchable, not because people won't try you, but because they can't move you. Think of it this way. Every rude comment is a test, not of your wit, not of your intelligence, but of your alignment. Will you stoop to their level, or will you stand in the dignity of your purpose? The person who masters their emotions masters the room. You see, when you react, you reveal that your mood belongs to them. But when you respond with restraint, you reclaim your authority. You demonstrate that your peace is not negotiable, that your spirit cannot be rented out to every insult that knocks on the door. Detachment is not coldness, it is wisdom. It's the recognition that not every comment deserves a reaction, not every battle is worth fighting, not every voice is worthy of your energy. When you learn to let words pass through you instead of into you, you protect the sanctuary of your mind and spirit. And that's where true confidence lives, not in proving a point, not in crafting the perfect comeback, but in knowing who you are so deeply, so securely, that their rudeness only exposes their own emptiness, not yours. When someone speaks rudely to you, it's easy to feel like it's a personal attack, like their words are aimed at the very core of who you are. But rudeness is rarely about you. It is almost always a reflection of the storm going on inside the other person. People who are whole, who are at peace with themselves, don't feel the need to lash out. They don't use their words as weapons. Rudeness is born from frustration, insecurity, bitterness, or pain that hasn't been healed. What spills out of a person is usually what overflows within them. That means when someone makes a sharp comment, they are exposing more about themselves than they are about you. Their tone is a window into their inner world. Their impatience might reveal stress. Their sarcasm might be a mask for insecurity. Their hostility could be rooted in wounds that have nothing to do with you. The problem comes when we mistake their reflection for our identity. We absorb their words as truth when in reality they're simply projections. Recognizing this shifts everything. Instead of asking, why did they say that to me? You start asking, what must be going on inside of them for that to come out? That's not excusing the behavior, it's understanding the source. It's like seeing smoke and knowing there's a fire somewhere, but realizing the smoke itself isn't the fire. Emotional detachment is often misunderstood as indifference, but in reality, it is a form of mastery. It is the ability to separate your inner state from the chaos around you. When someone throws negativity in your direction, they are hoping to provoke a reaction, to pull you into their storm. But when you detach, you choose not to be governed by their emotions. You refuse to let their energy dictate your peace. That choice is not weakness, it is one of the clearest demonstrations of strength. Think about it. Anyone can react. Anyone can snap back, raise their voice, or match rudeness with rudeness. That takes no discipline. But to remain calm when provoked, to maintain composure when others lose theirs, that requires something greater. It requires a rooted confidence, an inner stability that cannot be shaken by the shifting moods of other people. Emotional detachment is proof that your identity is not on trial every time someone speaks against you. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop caring what isn't yours. It's the wisdom to recognize this energy belongs to them, not to me. And in that moment, you free yourself from the invisible chains of reaction. You no longer hand over control of your spirit to whoever decides to be rude today. Spiritual mastery is not measured by how loud you can get, but by how little you can be moved. When you detach, you step into authority. You create a gap between stimulus and response, and in that gap lies your freedom. That's where your discernment grows, where your power is preserved. Detachment is not the absence of feeling, it is the presence of control. It is choosing peace over pettiness, purpose over provocation. Responding calmly in the face of rudeness is not about letting someone get away with disrespect. It's about showing that you value peace more than dominance. The person who tries to provoke Ao is often seeking a reaction, a spark they can fan into a fire. They want to pull you into their world of conflict because conflict validates the storm they're carrying inside. When you choose calmness instead of retaliation, you're making a statement. My inner world is not for sale to your chaos. That kind of control is far more powerful than the sharpest comeback. Calmness is not weakness, it's restraint in action. It says, I'm strong enough to hold my ground without lowering myself to your level. Anyone can yell, insult, or fight back. But it takes wisdom to know when a response would only feed the very energy you're trying to rise above. Calmness is a shield. It protects you from being manipulated into a battle you don't need to fight. There is also a deep dignity in responding with composure. It disarms the aggressor because they realize their words didn't shake you. That unbothered posture sends a stronger message than a defensive one ever could. By keeping your peace, you're not proving them right or wrong. You're proving that they don't get to dictate your state of mind. When you value peace more than dominance, you're telling the world that your energy is too precious to be wasted on petty exchanges. You're modeling strength not just for yourself, but for anyone watching, and in that calmness, you create space for wisdom to guide your response. Rather than ego. That's not just control, it's authority, the kind of authority that can't be stolen by rude words or reckless tempers. Silence has a weight that words can never carry. When someone speaks rudely, the natural impulse is to fire back, to defend yourself, to match their volume or their tone. But silence, when chosen intentionally, does something extraordinary. It disrupts the cycle. It refuses to give their rudeness the fuel it needs to escalate. In that quiet moment, you're not suppressing weakness, you're exercising wisdom. You're saying more with your restraint than you ever could with a heated reply. Silence has the power to expose what words would only cover up. When you don't engage, the other person is left alone with their behavior. They hear the echo of their own rudeness, and sometimes that echo is louder than any rebuke you could give. Your silence forces them to confront themselves, to feel the weight of what they've said without the distraction of your reaction. It also gives you space to stay in control. Words spoken in anger rarely heal. They usually deepen the wound. But silence creates a pause, a sacred distance between you and the offense. That pause protects your dignity. It reminds you that not every comment deserves a reply. Not every insult requires your energy. Silence becomes a boundary, a clear line that says, you cannot pull me into your chaos. Choosing silence doesn't mean you're powerless. It means you know where your real power lies. It lies in the ability to rise above, to remain anchored while someone else is drifting. Silence is not empty. It is full of meaning. It communicates that your peace is not fragile, that your identity is not shaken by careless words. In that stillness, you hold authority. You declare, without speaking, that their rudeness has no hold on you. Confidence is not shown by how loudly you can answer back. It's revealed in how calmly you can hold yourself when someone tries to provoke you. When a person is rude, what they're really Doing is testing your foundation. They're looking to see if they can shake you, if their words can crack your composure. But true confidence doesn't mirror chaos. It doesn't bend to match the instability of someone else's emotions. Instead, it stands firm, unshaken, because it is rooted in something deeper than approval or reaction. Think of it this way. When you argue with rudeness, you place yourself on the same level as the one who disrespected you. But when you remain composed, you separate yourself. You reveal that their behavior has no power to redefine who you are or how you carry yourself. That's the kind of confidence that speaks louder than any comeback. It shows that your value isn't fragile, that your peace isn't negotiable. Confidence isn't about proving a point. It's about proving you don't need to. A calm response, or even no response at all, sends a message that's far stronger than an angry retort. It says, I know who I am, and nothing you say can rewrite that. That posture disarms people because they realize they cannot control you. When you refuse to mirror someone's chaos, you shift the power back into your hands. You stand above the storm instead of inside it. Confidence shines brightest, not when everything is calm, but when it's tested by disrespect and still refuses to be moved. That's real strength, the quiet, unshakable kind that doesn't need to fight for recognition because it already knows its worth. Strength is often misunderstood. People think it's about who can speak the loudest, who can deliver the sharpest insult, or who can win the argument in the moment. But true strength is something quieter, something steadier. It's measured not by how much force you can show, but by how much restraint you can exercise. When someone speaks rudely to you, your first instinct may be to defend yourself, to lash back, to prove you won't be disrespected. Yet the stronger move is often to hold your peace, to choose not to give them the satisfaction of seeing you rattled. Restraint is not weakness, it's proof that you are bigger than the moment. Anyone can react, but it takes a deeper kind of power to pause, to breathe, and to decide your next step with clarity instead of impulse. That pause is where strength lives. It's where you separate yourself from the trap of being controlled by someone else's tone. Because the truth is, when you explode in anger, you hand them the power. But when you restrain yourself, you keep control firmly in your hands. Restraint also preserves your dignity. It allows you to walk away from the exchange without regret, without having said something in the heat of the moment that you can't take back. It leaves you standing taller because you know you governed yourself instead of being governed by someone else's negativity. That is strength. The ability to hold back, to stay calm when everything inside you wants to retaliate, is not a sign of fear, it's a sign of mastery. It shows that you are led by wisdom, not ego, and in the end, restraint always outlasts reaction because it is the strength that builds peace instead of chaos. When someone is rude to you, what they are really testing is not your intelligence but your stability. Rudeness is a tug, an invitation to step into their storm and let them control the atmosphere of the moment. But when you stay calm, you send a message without saying a word. You don't get to decide how I feel. That calmness is a shield. It tells the other person and even yourself that your emotions are not for rent, that your inner peace is not available for manipulation. People who provoke are often searching for control. They want to know they can push you, move you, make you lose yourself for a moment. But calmness denies them that power. It leaves them powerless because there's nothing to feed off of. When you don't take the bait, the game ends. Your stillness reveals their chaos, and it magnifies the difference between who they are in that moment and who you've chosen to be. Staying calm doesn't mean you ignore the offense or that you approve of it. It means you refuse to let it shape you. You choose to act from your principles rather than from their provocation. Calmness is a declaration of independence. It says your mood belongs to you alone, and that's one of the most freeing truths you can live by. When you master this, you walk into every situation with authority. You're no longer tossed around by how people treat you. You stand anchored, unmoved, while others reveal themselves through their instability. That posture commands respect without demanding it. It shows that your strength comes from within, not from winning verbal battles. Staying calm is how you silently declare, "You cannot control me because I already control myself." Spiritual authority is what separates reaction from response. When someone speaks rudely to you, your natural instincts want to rise up, defend yourself, strike back, prove your worth. But spiritual authority teaches you that not every battle deserves your energy and not every word requires an answer. It gives you the clarity to see beyond the surface, to understand that their behavior is not really about you, but about the condition of their own heart. With that understanding, you can respond with wisdom instead of reacting with ego. Reaction is impulsive. It is letting someone else's negativity set the tone for your spirit. Response, however, comes from a place of discernment. It is measured, intentional, and often far quieter than people expect. Spiritual authority means you are not being led by your emotions. You are leading them. You're not being pulled into their storm. You are choosing to remain anchored in your peace. That's what makes your presence so powerful. You're no longer controlled by what happens around you, but by what's rooted within you. When you carry spiritual authority, your words carry more weight because they are not driven by anger. Even your silence carries influence because it's chosen, not forced. People can feel the difference when you're standing in self-control versus when you're swept away by offense. Responding with clarity doesn't mean you're passive, it means you're deliberate. It shows that you value wisdom over winning, peace over proving, purpose over pride. And here's the truth: ego wants to win the moment, but authority is focused on the bigger picture. The rude comment may last a few seconds, but your response reveals your character, and character lasts much longer. That's the mark of spiritual authority. It leaves an impression without ever raising its voice. Protecting your peace is more important than proving your point. In the heat of the moment, when someone is rude or dismissive, the urge to defend yourself can feel overwhelming. You want to correct them, to set the record straight, to make sure they know they can't speak to you that way. But often, in trying to prove your point, you end up sacrificing your calm. You give them control over your mood, and even if you win the exchange, you lose something far greater: your peace of mind. Peace is not weakness. It is one of the strongest positions you can hold. It means you refuse to let another person's words live rent-free in your head. It means you care more about your inner stability than about getting the last word. Because the truth is, not every battle is worth fighting. Some people are so determined to misunderstand you that no explanation will ever be enough. In those moments, protecting your peace is the highest form of wisdom. When you choose peace over proving yourself, you're choosing freedom. Freedom from replaying the conversation in your mind. Freedom from the regret of words spoken in anger. Freedom from being defined by someone else's lack of respect. Peace preserves your energy for what actually matters: your purpose, your relationships, your growth. The need to prove a point is often rooted in pride, but the choice to protect your peace is rooted in strength. It says, I don't need to win this argument to know my worth. That decision elevates you above the noise. It leaves you standing tall while others drain themselves in pettiness. Protecting your peace is not walking away empty, it's walking away full because you kept what mattered most. A rude comment is not an evaluation of your intelligence. It's a test of your alignment. When someone throws negativity your way, they're really asking, will you leave your grounded place to meet me in mine? That moment is less about what was said and more about how you choose to stand. If your sense of self is anchored in purpose, you won't let their words pull you off course. But if you're living to defend, to react, to prove, then you've already given them the steering wheel of your emotions. Alignment means remembering who you are and why you're here, even when others forget their own center. It's holding fast to your values in the face of provocation. A rude comment can sting, yes, but it's also a spotlight. It reveals whether you're ruled by impulse or by intention. It shows whether you're moved by ego or guided by wisdom. When you're aligned, you recognize that not every comment deserves entry into your spirit. You can hear the insult and let it pass, because you know it's not speaking to your identity, it's speaking from their instability. That kind of clarity only comes from living anchored in something deeper than people's opinions. And here's the irony. The more aligned you are, the less those words can touch you. They might echo for a moment, but they don't stick because there's nothing in you for them to cling to. A rude comment then becomes nothing more than background noise, present but powerless. Dignity is not something others give you. It's something you choose to keep. When a rude comment comes your way, the temptation is to absorb it, to internalize it, to let it settle in your spirit as if it were truth. But the moment you let their insult take root inside of you, you've allowed their words to rob you of your dignity. True strength is found in letting those words pass through you, like wind through an open window, instead of into you, like poverty. Son, you willingly drink. When you refuse to carry an insult, you protect your identity. You know who you are, and no careless remark has the authority to redefine you. That's where dignity stands, in the quiet refusal to let someone else's brokenness write your story. Their rudeness exposes them, not you. It says more about the state of their heart than it ever could about your worth. Letting an insult pass through you doesn't mean you're blind or naive. It means you're wise enough to understand that reacting would only drag you down to their level. It's choosing to keep your posture, to keep your composure, and to walk away with your head high. That choice preserves more than your peace. It preserves your honor. People may not remember every word you speak, but they will remember how you carried yourself. Dignity leaves an impression. It's the quiet confidence of knowing that you don't need to prove yourself in every exchange. When you let insults slide off instead of sink in, you show the world that your spirit is untouchable. That's not weakness, it's the highest form of control. Because in the end, dignity isn't about what they said, it's about how you chose to stand. Detachment is not about being numb, it's about being wise enough to protect what matters most. When you practice detachment in the face of rudeness, you create space between the offense and your response. That space is where discernment lives. Instead of being pulled into the heat of the moment, you step back and allow clarity to guide you. You're no longer trapped in the cycle of reacting. You're free to choose how you will respond. And in that freedom, you discover strength. Discernment is the ability to see the truth beneath the surface. A rude comment may sound sharp, but discernment helps you recognize its source. Maybe it's coming from insecurity, stress, or unhealed wounds. With detachment, you don't take the words at face value. You see them for what they are, an overflow of what's happening inside the other person. That recognition shifts the weight off of you and places it back where it belongs. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your own peace to guard it fiercely. It means you no longer allow temporary words to create permanent damage in your spirit. When you're detached, you can evaluate, is this worth my energy? Is this aligned with my purpose? Does this deserve my attention? More often than not, the answer is no. And here's the beauty of it. Detachment doesn't weaken your presence, it strengthens it. People can feel when they can't shake you, when their words can't move you. That steadiness commands respect without ever demanding it. In choosing detachment, you elevate yourself. You operate from wisdom instead of impulse, from discernment instead of ego. And every time you do, you prove that your peace is not fragile, it is fortified. At the end of it all, the way you handle rude comments is never really about them. It's about you. It's about who you decide to be when someone else forgets who they are. Every harsh worse. Dethrone your way is an invitation to step out of character, but you don't have to accept it. You can rise above without raising your voice. You can protect your peace without proving your point. You can walk away with your dignity intact, because you know silence, restraint, and detachment are not signs of weakness. They are signs of mastery. The world doesn't need more people who can fight fire with fire. It needs people who know how to stand calm in the middle of flames. That's real strength. That's authority. That's freedom. The next time rudeness comes knocking, remember, you don't owe anyone your reaction, but you do owe yourself your peace. Hold it, guard it, live in it. Because the greatest power you will ever display is the power to remain unshaken.